Well, when we have the gloom and doom of everything that's going on from gas
Yeah.
prices and everything else, it can really get into our heads about woe is me. And I'll tell you what, we've been through a lot in our industry, in our lives, in our country, and or what have you. And we always find a way, if we look for it, how do we manage ourselves through some things that we can't control? And when you do, things that turn out well for you. When you don't, you can become a victim instead of a victor. And I know which one I want to be. So that's
That's
exactly
awesome.
how I view it every day.
Well, that's the point of this webinar today is to kind of address some of these issues. Stephen, welcome. I was mentioning earlier we're about to get started. We were just giving a few more folks some time to join the webinar. But if you have any questions, find the Q&A on the bottom of your screen. Feel free to type it in, and I'll make sure that Dave gets the message as he gets going. So it's 10:01, almost 10:02. Let's get started. Again, my name is Jason Volney. I'm the Chief Talent Development Officer for the Live Ready Institute. I will let David introduce himself, but welcome back. Some of you guys are coming back for from previous webinars that you have attended before, so we always welcome you. Today should be really, really good. As David mentioned, we were just at the Agent Summit, and there's a lot of doom and gloom out there. As I'm sure you guys are dealing with it every single day. And so we wanted to bring you this to kind of help you. What is some of the solutions that you can implement in your organization, some of the takeaways you can take back to your team, and hopefully have a much better outcome than what everybody else is talking about. Some of the things that I heard yesterday is, FTC sending out letters to 97 dealerships threatening them, interest rates high, there's a war in Iran, there's plenty of things to worry about. And so how does a leader at a dealership deal with this kind of scenario? And so, David, I don't know if you're sharing. Can you share your screen? Oh, you did.
I,
Okay.
yeah, it's there.
Okay. So you are, oh, I see it now. So you're in control. Today's agenda is how are we currently staffed? We're going to help you identify your current talent on your organization and where their headspace is at. Now, what is the power of thought and how you can control it, both your as a leader and then also your employees. David's going to dive into the brain model and then what's causing the fear and uncertainty today in your organization, and then three simple steps of how you can take and improve your organization right now. And at the end, we have a free tool that we always give away with a recording of this video. So if for some reason something comes up, you need to step away, we're going to be sending you the recording. So without further ado, David, the floor is yours. Tell them a little bit about yourself and then just dive right into it. I'm sure they are eager to hear.
Well, first of all, I want to thank those that have taken the time to learn something different. And I tell you what, I love talking to two people, 10 people, 1,000 people, however, whatever our audience can be, because I think it's important that we as leaders can lead out during times of difficulty. And there is always an opportunity to gain something, to see something, to find the equal or greater benefit of any obstacle in front of us. I'm David Ibarra. I've been in the automotive business for about 35 years, from running a metropolitan store for 10 years that I got involved in. It was on probation, and in a very short period of time, we turned that around, and we were able to be showcased by the Ford Motor Company as best in class. We got into the performance improvement business that we've been doing for 25 years. I work with 61 groups across the nation. And how is it that we train think before we train skills? These are some of the books that we've just have out. The last two on the screen, Becoming the Modern Day Dealership, will be available on Amazon next week. And then the following week, Creating How Power. And so let's just get right into it. What do we do? What do we share? What do we bring to the table? The very first thing I think that's important for all of us to understand is, how are we stuffed as individuals Who are our customers? What are they feeling? And more importantly, how do we manage our associates? And the American workforce has been studied over and over and over again, starting with the first study that I ever read was conducted by Dr. Napoleon Hill back in 1937. And he's the first one that determined that at that time, only 2% of the general population thought like what we have in this category is now 3% of pure non-drifters. What is a pure non-drifter? That is those folks that just entered life into a thought-setting environment, family, whatever, that taught them to believe anything was possible. If they could think it, believe it, they could achieve it, as Dr. Hill would talk about it. But also, these are the folks that have clear purpose. They're driven by goals. They're going to control and dominate the industries they're in. The second group of people are stuffed are partial non-drifters. They're really managers of things. They take great pride in if you assign me a task, I'll deliver that task, and you will not have to follow up with me. But after they're done, they'll wait for a new assignment. The fourth category is really the one that we're here to talk about. You'll be responsible to leading. How is it that you get the 60% group that are natural drifters, and for whatever reason, they just want to get through the day, the week, the month, and retire, but they can be affected, and we're going to talk about exactly how to do that in a moment. And then the last category, 27%, think of this, 1 out of 4 people that you will meet, their goal is simply to Their goal is simply to destroy your company. They are so unhappy, so negative. They're loud and they're powerful. And this 27% destructive drifter, their goal of leaders should be to find them, and they're not hard to find, and encourage them to transfer to your competition so they can mess up their company and not yours. So as we look at this, and we've already always have studied this in this pyramid, but the 3% and the 10% and the 60% and the 27%, how do they shake out if you go down the path of a performance improvement coach? You have identified what is your theme, what is your culture at the dealership that you represent. And if you're in the business of it's how you sell the product, not just selling the product, you gain more market share because you're themed based. That is what affects this middle or this third category, the 60%. When we do that and we share with them our purpose and how we're going to go about selling, how we sell, not just what we sell, they will divide themselves into 3 groups. The top 30%, I'm sorry, the 60% will divide themselves into thirds. The top group, 20% of them, will join that 13% category and will look and act like goal setters and score keepers. The middle 60, they can be inspired, but they have to be inspired daily. And we talk about training that in through our readiness level huddles that we do with this group every single morning. You're not going to get them to do it themselves, but they can be affected. That bottom on your left, that bottom third, which is 20%, they will need to be told what to do about every 2 hours. They need to be managed. They can't be led. They need to be managed. But the interesting thing is when you go down this path of being goal setters and score keepers and having a culture of processes, that 27% will just leave you on their own. Now, that gives you a talent mix. It changes your talent mix from what is ordinary to extraordinary. And this is the talent that you would see at a Disneyland associates. This is the talent you'd see at a Chick-fil-A. This is the talent you would see at a Ritz Carlton with the Marriott company, and that's what we want to achieve for every client that we serve. So I always like to start and talk about there's two ways in which we think. There are those that see things as they are and ask why, woe is me. And there are those that others that dream dreams that never were and say, why not me? Why can't I do that? We believe in helping people, leaders, to pivot to that positive of I can absolutely maneuver myself through just about anything if I think I can. But it all starts with first the power of thought. People enter this life into one of two cheap GPS like thought settings environment. One of them is a positive state of mind environment of joy, of belief, and that path leads them down to a path of rewards. The other, unfortunately, 87% enter into an environment that success wasn't intended for me. It's a disbelief state of mind, fear setting, which leads them down a path that they're not going to get a reward. They really have penalties after penalties after penalties until they don't believe. So the positive state of mind looks for opportunities to get what you want. It helps you focus on what is it I want? How is it I'm going to achieve it? And what are going to be the benefits that I'm going to learn along the way? That's going to be the joy of the journey to a success. On the other hand, a negative state of mind individual, they focus on, I knew this wasn't going to work for me. The moment that they have a positive thought, they hear the whisper of Dr. Doubt. What are you thinking, David? Why do you think you can create this national performance coaching company? Live Ready? What is that? Well, quickly I'll brush that off and I'd say, this is the things that we love to do and we love to help leaders do. Eliminate the thought of a negative state of mind because it chooses the easiest path that leads to negative consequences and prevents our associates to get what they want. The very first thing that we ask an associate that joins the dealerships that we work with, what is it that you want over these next 30 days? If we can help them develop this goal-setting concept of a positive state of mind, we're going to win and we're going to win big. So how it is we live ready. And I want to take a minute and why is it that you're always going to hear this term, live ready? Live ready is the result of managing and learning the core principles of success. And where I learned them was from when I was an 18-year-old kid. A guy I went to work for, Robert E. Farrell, gave me a book, Think and Grow Rich. Within this book, it taught me, and he became my mentor, it taught me five things. The five core principles are thought, purpose, talent development, action, and mindset. If I can get those five core things, I'm living ready. And that's where we live ready so that we're ready for any opportunity that comes in front of us. So it starts with our thoughts, what we think, positive or negative. And most people don't realize that they have the power to control their thoughts. And that's the one thing that the Creator gave mankind, the only animal on earth that has been given the ability to control thought is mankind. Now, it doesn't mean that you do. It means that you can if somebody shows you how. And that is our number one purpose here at the Live Ready Institute is to teach people how it is you can control your thought to get what you could and should have. So getting what you want always is starting by mastering how thought works. The thought that occupies your mind shapes your mindset, either positive or negative. And how the brain works, the first part is understanding our process. Think of this: 80% of your brain processing is your subconscious. Everything that we've seeded into our subconscious in beliefs or disbeliefs. The subconscious does not know the difference between right or wrong. Its job is simply to do what's been seeded within it. That's why we have seen incredible things that have been achieved by mankind, and we've seen unbelievable disappointment that has been created as well. It does not know the difference between right or wrong. 15% of the processing part of the brain is the conscious. It's what we're doing right now. We're seeding some things. Either you're saying, that makes sense, or I'm not sure that makes sense to me. We're beginning to seed things in our subconscious right now in this very conversation. And then there's 5% of the brain that is our imagination. And the fact of the matter is, that's where all the action happens. When we're in a negative state of mind, our brain reaches out into the universe and pulls in every like emotion, just like a motion detector. It goes up for an emotion and brings it into your subconscious to help validate the thought that is in it, whether it is the imagination of all the great things we can do or all of the reasons we can't do. It will pull it in to our brain and will be in a positive state or a negative state. And the fact of the matter is, all of us, every one of me included, we live in this bounce. I just want to be 80%, 60% to 80% in a positive state of mind. And to recognize when I fall into doubt thought, that I quickly know how to get out of that doubt thought. Now, the way I do that, by the way, is I think of the three things in my life that just bring me absolute joy. The birth of my son was just an experience when he reached up, freshly put it in my arms and grabbed my pinky. It brought me to tears. Looking at where I was able to go from a young kid headed nowhere, very our nobody in our family had experienced the kind of success that my brother and I have experienced today. And then a sporting event, watching a Muhammad Ali fight and him winning, it just brings me great joy. So when I'm in a negative state, I think of one of those three things. It immediately pivots me to a positive, and then all I got to do is remember to walk out of that room of negative and shut the door behind me, and then proceed. But the second part of how the brain works is something called the reticular activation system. And it's right in the back of the brain, and it is the filter. When we look at how the brain works, it can process thousands of signals per second. The majority of them are coming from our organs that make this incredible machine function. When we look at the complexity of the human body and the signals that are going back and forth from organs. But about 130 are thought signals, and we can process 130 thought signals per second. But those thought signals are sorted by the reticular activation system, and if it wasn't for that, we could not process all of the thoughts. So without the RAS, decision making would be very difficult. But the one thing that is good and can be bad about the reticular activation system It is our filter. So it's going to filter out any information that it believes is unwanted. So what it does, it only will let in information that is already part of what we believe, which is good or bad. If our belief is based on accuracy of thought, if it's not, if it's based on something you've read on Facebook, isn't it interesting how many celebrities are pronounced dead, rest in peace, on Facebook, and you go, "You're kidding me! Danny Trejo died," and then immediately I've got to go look it up. No, Danny Trejo did not die. There's false information, and we've got to be the protector of what gets into our head because our reticular activation system is going to focus on that. So if we can stuff it and focus with accurate thought of what we want between a positive state of mind and the reticular activation system, we can become an unbelievable weapon of achieving what we want anytime we choose to. So the reticular activation system working with the subconscious is an absolute awesome tool. What is seeded into our associate subconscious, our guest subconscious, it comes from the news. And we probably don't have the same kind of news we had when I was growing up. There is no such thing as Walter Cronkite today. We have opinions of people telling us, no matter what channel you're looking at, whether it's MS Now or Fox News. We all listen to things that match what we believe, and that can be good and that can be bad. But all of this information is coming from friends, from family, from rumors, from drama, and we've got to be the ones that determine exactly what it is we believe. Now, when we look about our industry, which is incredibly interesting, we look about what is the most trusted occupation in America. It's a nurse. 75% of our population trust a nurse. Does anybody want to take a wild guess as to what the trust level is for us in the automotive business? 32 years. Gallup has surveyed this, and the automobile business has never achieved double digits. We look at it is that right now the United States Congress, unbelievable, is at a 7% trust level. 1963, the United States Congress was at an 86% trust level. The lowest trust level is a telemarketer, but in the past, it has been us who held that position, but we're at a 7% trust level. Now, in any dealership that we serve, we look at that as awesome. And people are like, what do you mean it's awesome? Anybody that is joining any dealership that we serve, we show them this number and we say, isn't that great? What do you mean, isn't that great? I know they're starting with us with some apprehension of their own. So I'm going to talk about the elephant in the room right away. That 7% represents our competition. We at the Live Ready Institute talk with every dealer we serve. We want them to survey every single guest that they serve. I would call them in the 10 years, anybody that bought a car on the 14th day, I called them. Ring, ring. This is David Ibarra, General Manager of Henry Day Ford, and I just wanted to call you and thank you for choosing our dealership as a business, as a place to do business. Would it be all right if I asked you just 8 yes or no questions? I learned so much from the guests we serve, and they always say yes. And then at the end, I'm going to ask you to rate us in 2 areas. And I ask 8 questions real quick. Did we greet you within 2 minutes? Did we seek to understand your needs before we showed you a vehicle? Did you have an opportunity to take a discovery drive on every vehicle of interest? And then I ask 2 questions that are things I'm working on.
in process so I can validate that those are being executed on every guest visit. And then at the end, could you rate Jason, your sales client advisor, in the area of trust from 0 to 100? And and they'll rate him 80, 90% in the dealership. And we were able to get our dealers in the 80, 90 percentile. And then we can show it to the client advisors that have hooked their wagon to ours. We're different. And when we change that number to the 87, 92 percentile, we're taking market share. And our client advisors are proud to work with us because we're not just selling a product, it's how we sell a product that makes us different. So that number is fun. We end up taking every single client advisors that we serve and we show them that for every touch point with the guest journey, guest trek, it's from where do they see us on the internet. So we have to have a process. We've written that process exactly how we handle every inquiry. And we understand that after we answer the quote or whatever it is, they may go silent. That's okay. They're going to receive an internet from us. If they gave us their phone number, they'll receive a text and a call. If they didn't, they're going to receive for 14 days, they're going to receive about 10 emails. If they don't engage with us and become a contact, then we're going to have campaigns where we take 2 weeks rest and then 5 emails about why they ought to do business with our dealership, why they ought to buy the Hyundai, the Volkswagen, the Chevrolet, why, and we have these campaigns, and 56% of them will not engage until about the fourth or fifth week, and they're going to end up either telling us they bought somewhere else or they're going to go to the next level, which is our phones, contacts, or our guest visit or our BDC. But every one of these, we have a process that we've built that is signatured to you. You need to build these based on your beliefs. What makes you different? What are you proud of? And you can create these on your own. A drifter culture, well, it creates the trust gap, and we can change that by having our daily huddles. And we want to do these daily huddles. I was just met with a dealer at 8 o'clock this morning that comes and visits me on every Thursday. And we were talking about this just today. A 60% person is not going to do a readiness mindset exercise to get ready to come to work. They have to come to work, and we have to have a leader from that 13% group, that non-drifter group, that does on the showroom floor, just a huddle, 10 minutes to see the subconscious. What has happened with the manufacturer in the rebates that's made it special? What cars did we bring in and in a trade-in and tell the story about the family, the car, and why is it a good? Give people hope to pivot to positive. And then we want to talk about 10 minutes with what every associate in their personal goal of selling 16, of selling 12. Where did you need to be on this day? Are you plus or minus? And how am I going to help them as a mentor coach? And then the last 10 minutes, we're going to master our how power. With every single individual we serve, if I'm on the showroom floor, I'm going to role play with them. I'm going to be the salesman first. And when they notice that Jason, myself, you know this information so good, you never have to look at the manual. It's in your heart. They'll learn it too. But I'm going to role play with one person, and then they'll role play with me. We'll change. And now we're ready to go to work. The daily huddle is absolutely vital. So, how it is that we look at this cycle of success in our our live ready cycle of success, we start with a goal in the actions that follow it, an action path. We start with what is it? What is our percentage of completion of that action path? I know I'm at about a 68% completion of the 35 items that I do daily, weekly, or monthly. I read that path every morning. I don't print it and walk around. I read it every morning, and then every night I go pull it up. Which of these did I do? And I'm seeding my subconscious to do them natural. We have a scorecard for every one of our talent positions. And if we will count our money and score it in a monthly profit and loss statement, why wouldn't we do the same in a talent P&L? We do so in the stores that we serve. I would suggest you do it the same. You can just have 5, 6 profit items. You can have voice of the customer. You can have some process validation items that you can score. You can have some personal development items, and that's a scorecard. And then when we fall out, we just close the gap. Now, that's what 3%ers do naturally. That's what the 10%ers do when they're problem solving. And 87% of the rest of us need leaders to help us do that. But that is our job. And there's nothing more sacred than helping somebody, being a mentor coach to somebody to teach them to get what they could and should have. I grew up in the Marriott Corporation. At 18, I started as a dishwasher with Farrell's Ice Cream Parlor restaurant. And then I grew in it after meeting Bob Farrell. He became my mentor. I was able to grow to assistant manager, district manager, director of training for the Western United States. And I'll tell you what, since I was 19 at Marriott, this is where we took this. He had a sheet just like this. And in it, we had our standards and we had our measurements from minimum to expected to outstanding. And every month we scored this, and it was a talent P&L that every leader was expected to go over with the individual associates that he was responsible to grow. This wasn't a negative. We're going to do our checkup from the neck up every 31 days and score our talent P&L. And we would have to fax this into our leader back then. That's how long I've been using this. So if you can do this on just an Excel spreadsheet, or you can do it in a software that we provide. Either way, it's got to be done, because talent plus capital, that's when success happens. And both of them are equal. So, I oftentimes talk about, managing time. One of the things that when, we really started to be successful, we had a lot of responsibility to a lot of dealers. We do a lot of coaching. I coach 6 dealership groups every week, and I'm either in their store or I coach them through Zoom. And it represents about 58% of our business, because we, depending on what they're involved with us in, whether it's brokering, whether it's buying dealerships, selling dealerships, or different things that we do. But one thing that I tell you that I see, and is really an advantage for you, and it'd be a great takeaway for you, there's 4 competencies to veritable operations. Internet. There's phones, taking that incoming phone, having a themed answer for the 9 most often questions. The guest visit. Is it a discovery visit? Is it a validation visit? And then marketing, the BDC. I do not believe that anybody can manage time without having time blocking. So having a rotation system so that your client advisors are in the host to handle a walk-in guest, where they're receiving emails instantly, phone calls in the in that particular rotation, whether with a guest, whether they're in the BDC, manage the time effectively. And I cannot imagine somebody not using a rotation system to handle that. So today, that pretty much handles what we wanted to share with you, and I'll turn it back to Jason.
Thank you, David. Yeah, hopefully you guys got a lot of value out of it. And just to recap, you guys learned about how you're currently stuffed. How does the brain power work? How does the power of thought? You as a leader are being seeded by a lot of this negative news as well. And so you have to remember that your team is being seeded. So you have to counter their negativity a little bit. David, if you like, what I took away is that a lot of this news, a lot of the negativity is just pulling a lot of people towards that bottom 27%. Is that kind of what it is? And we need to keep them up?
Well, is that we have gone through 2008 meltdown. We have seen interest. Now it's on the rise at 6%. For heaven's sakes, in the 80s, when we saw 6%, we thought we were going to do backflips. We were so excited. We're going to find a way to sell a car, whether it's selling the car, whether it's leasing the car. We're going to find a way. Everyone needs a car. There's two things that everybody has. They have a cell phone and they have a car. So I look at it, there's only two kinds of days, a good day and a better day. And that's how we're going to approach it. And I'll tell you what, our dealers do very well. And when you believe you can, you will. You can do this on your own, or you can do this with assistance. One of the things, anybody that's really interested in this readiness mindset and to live ready, ought to go on Amazon and buy my book, Live Ready Beyond Think and Grow Rich. Not only did I read it as an 18-year-old, it became my guide that's changed my circumstances. And today, we here at the Live Ready Institute are the largest licensees of Dr. Hill's work in the world. And every one of our associates are Think and Grow Rich certified coaches. And we believe this, and we're only going to operate in a positive state of mind. And yes, you're going to think negative, but as soon as I do, whoops, how can I pivot? And it becomes a habit, and I'm sure you can learn this habit. And when you do, life just gets easier.
Now, we mentioned also in the emails that we're sending out that the Feel Good Auto Group, obviously, they're all in the same economic climate, right? They're all getting the same, but yet they still find a way to become number one. So this is where this is all coming from. This is the processes that they've implemented. Maybe can you talk a little bit about the no negativity zone? I know that was a big factor.
When we started with the Volkswagen Group 17 years ago, I received a call from Tom Watkins, and I had we have a brokering company. We've sold about 54 automobile dealerships. It's part of what we do. It's called the Live Ready Dealer Exchange Brokering. But we had just sold his store, and it wasn't a performer. It was a Hyundai store. And the person that bought it in its first month, he was doing 47. The buyer did 123 their first month. How did that happen? Tom said to me. Well, the Murdoch family, they came to our learning center. They hired everybody, and for 3 weeks, they role-played how the Murdoch way was. So when they opened, everybody was in the culture, and they did 124. Tom called me and said, "Can you help me?" They were doing about 50 Volkswagen sales, and they were not making a lot of money. We paired them with a talent development partner, Jeff Davis. And in 2 years, we were the number one retailer of Volkswagens in Utah. And on 3 of the months, We were the number one new and used. Then Volkswagen gave us an opportunity to go after a new point in Kansas City. In 2 years, it was selling more than the other Volkswagen stores combined. And then buy two stores in Houston. And I'm proud to say in 2025, they sold 6,095 Volkswagens and became the number one retailer of Volkswagens in America. And they did this by saying, when you walk into our store, to the associates, there is a dome over it. And that dome is there because we do not allow negative thinking within this dealership. And everybody manages that. No negative talk, no drama. We talk about how it is we're going to serve. And it works.
That's awesome. So, and you've always said like you can only achieve great things when you're in a positive state of mind. You cannot do great things in a negative state of mind. So as a leader, for those of you who attended this, hopefully you took a lot away from this. Focus on your positive thought, focus on your people. There's 3 simple processes you can implement today, the Daily Huddle. And to help you with this, we're going to give away a free tool we're going to send you an email with it. And it's going to give you the framework of what a one-on-one huddle, or not a one-on-one, a daily huddle would look like with your team. And it's going to give you the breakdown that David just kind of mentioned. So let's connect, scan the QR code, send me your information. If you want a copy of this presentation, just send me an email saying, hey, send me the deck. I'll be more than happy to send it to you. And let's keep talking. And if you want more tools like this or more content like this, visit our website, livereadyauto.com, and just see what we're all about. But we're here to serve you, the dealership, and you as a leader, help you train. We actually have a leadership summit coming up, I believe, April 28th and 29th. So for those of you interested, you can find more information on that on our website, livereadyauto.com, or just reach out to me. I'll send you the information. So thank you very much, everybody, for joining us today. And we're going to have the next webinar 2 weeks from now. We'll be sending more emails out your way. So keep an eye out for those. Thank you, guys. Thanks, David.
Thank you.